Doing pretty terrific, buddy. I got to tell you, and I'm excited today to let everyone know out there. Our dear Nile Scala is a little bit under the weather, right, Scala? You're not feeling so well, so we're gonna try to. And of course, against wife's and doctor's orders, he's doing the show because we're both psyched. And we whoa, hang on, that's me. Son of a bitch. Sorry, I'm watching our page. All right, so I just want to let everybody know out there. What's up, man? I need another monitor. I got to go buy a monitor. I'm going to put a monitor here because I'm using the iPad. So but Nile is a little under the weather and against doctor's orders. He's still doing on the show. And the reason for that is because we're both huge fans of our guest today. And he even appears in our opening video. Without further adu, I'd like to introduce the man, the myth, the legend, the budding legend, the born legend, the legend that will be exploding all over Comic-Done.
Yes.
Who not only has the greatest company title with Headshot Comics, he's also got the greatest title, and you guys all know our title, Galactic Rodents of Mayhem. But then again, he's got the greatest theme song of any crowdfunded comics. Well, maybe he's got the only one, but holy crap. So without further ado, can we introduce Mr. Gilbert Deltrez? Mr. Deltrez.
Mr. Deltrez, welcome.
What's up?
What's going on, guys? Man, that's amazing. How do you even lead up into that build-up? Oh, my gosh. Billy, thank you for having me. Niles, thank you for having me. It's great to be here just to talk about comics, talk about fun comics at that, and I'm just excited. I'm excited. I hope I can live up to the man, the myth, the comic legend, hopefully.
Dude,
hopefully.
You are a badass. You will be.
Man.
You already are the man. You will be the myth and the legend. But you're an incredible talent. Incredible. As we said, Nile's not feeling well, and we had a nice meeting today, Nile and I, about trying to bring our shows back down, like we say all the time, but we're going to try to make a concerted effort to make it 45 minutes to an hour, because
that sounds good.
Yeah, because we keep going over an hour and a half, and I see our guests, like, looking around and stuff, and, I see their wives off camera, like, it's time for them to eat dinner. So,
I locked the door.
But without further ado, my friend, please tell us about yourself. This is your third crowdfunding campaign?
If this one funds, this will be my seventh successfully funded crowdfunding campaign. My seventh one. Lucky number 7. Yeah.
7, nice. Well, this one will fund, but can you tell us a little bit about yourself, buddy?
What could I say? I've always enjoyed comics growing up, movies. I'm a cinephile. I just want to tell stories. It's something I wanted to do, and not for lack of trying. I figure if I can't make it the old-fashioned way, let me self-publish. I figure self-publishing is a way to go, and all I want to do is just put out stories and put out great stories and challenge the status quo. That's all I'm about. I'm a writer, and that's what I want to do. Comics, man, always.
So what's your origin story, man? How'd you even get into comics?
Okay, so to be honest with you, it's like growing up, I didn't feel like comics was something I can do. I just I could never draw, but I just love getting lost in the stories. So that was big for me. Movies were big for me, and it's like I knew I wanted to do movies, but I didn't think of, well, let's get into comics. I was like, okay, I'll just jump into screenplays, and there's no impact that goes with your story. So you know what? There was just that epiphany that's like, why don't I do comics? Like, it just happened. I'm a late bloomer, I guess. And then I'm like, these stories I have in mind, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Imagine a comic book laden with comic book panels. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, okay, let's do comics. And this energy came about. This was a few years ago, and I started putting things together, trying to get stuff going on, and it was a nightmare. Let me tell you, I thought okay, you can put together a cool 3-page pitch. You submit it to Image. If it looks good, the story's different. They're going to be like, you're in, bud. Boy, was that a rude awakening. So I did pitch upon pitch. Nothing got picked up. And I'm like, okay, I think I have to have the full issue done, and then something will happen. So I had the full issue done, pitched Under the Flesh was who doesn't have an end of the world story, right? So Under the Flesh was one of them. And again, nothing came of it. And I was like, you know what? I talked to my artist who I found through DeviantArt. I'm like, listen, let's just Kickstarter was a thing. I'm like, what is this crowdfunding thing? Let's try to do that. I already have the book done. will finance the printing and the artwork for the second issue. And that's where I started to get my feet wet. I went through pain, torture, hell and back just to understand that crowdfunding comics is not for the faint of heart. It'll take a pound of flesh. It'll take a piece of your soul. But I gritted it out, and I'm just trying to carve a way, I guess, through survival to just show that, hey, I got some stuff that I just want to keep on doing. And I was able to get into it. Like, I'm a late bloomer. I'm a slow starter, but once I get hot, I get hot. I think now I'm on the tail end of getting hot. So I think now I'm getting
you're just starting to percolate, buddy. You're at the beginning of it. I mean, even with your successful campaigns and all. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your previous campaigns?
Sure. Under the Flesh, I had three successful campaigns with Under the Flesh, or was it two? No, two. I had one even canceled. So I've been through a lot. So Under the Flesh, I did, and because the artist, who's an awesome artist, he hit a snag where he was getting inundated with Marvel work, which is a great thing. But Under the Flesh was kind of like on the back burner, and I get it, and I understand. And I got this, I guess, this Stockholm syndrome where I couldn't just let go. I didn't want to move on with another artist. I know The Walking Dead, move on from Tony Moore. I just didn't. I have, call it first love or whatever. I'm like, I want to finish this with my guy. I'm like, but I can't stay stagnant. So then Lair came about, and my idea was, because in learning, I figured, hey, if you got the first issue, people will want it, right? So I pitched to a small publisher, Action Lab, Under the Flesh. They liked it. They're like, where's issue 2 and where's issue 3? And I'm like, I got to crowdfund it. I'm like, so that's what I'm learning. I'm like, okay, really, you got to have kind of like a finished book. So that's when Lair came about, and it was more like a one-shot deal, but like a 60-page variety. I kind of wanted some closure. I want readers to be able to gauge what I'm putting out there, and they'll know what I bring up they'll know what I bring to the table as a storyteller. So then Lair came about, was able to successfully crowdfund that on Kickstarter, and then I did an Indiegogo later on for a big print run, able to do that, and then Pistoleta came about, a Western. I always wanted to write a Western, and I feel like I was able to do that. So, you got your pregnant gunslinger there. Yeah. And now, considering the political landscape in comics, it's like, okay, I did my horror kind of thing. I was funded. I did my little Western thing. Thank God that was funded. So that was cool. Like I say, I had that under my belt. But I'm hearing everything with the state of Star Wars and just like fun. We got to have fun in comics. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to bring fun. And that's when Galactic Rodents eventually, formulated.
Yeah. and it's even, man, I mean, you got a damn exclamation point, in the title. Galactic Rodents of Mayhem, I mean, that just says it all,
and
bro.
You have a theme song already.
Yeah. Now, Nile, he's got a theme song, bro.
Let's get into it. Let's go over it. We're gonna go a little bit out of sync than we normally do. I'm gonna play the video for the campaign so that we can get this theme song, and then we're gonna go back and we got to talk about this.
Yeah. Okay.
going on, guys? Gilbert Deltrez here with you. I want you guys to know that I'm so excited about my new campaign, Galactic Rodents of Mayhem. Bada boom. Basically, it's everything I loved in comics, all the goodness that I remember growing up as a kid. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
right? It doesn't
Star
interfere
Wars,
with
video game
anything.
culture. Everything is literally smash rolled into this concept featuring capybara bounty hunters. That's right, guys. Capybaras are back. Thanks, of course, to Sebastian Navis, my artist, who put me on the awareness of their existence. I fell in love, and I'm like, this is how we're going to bring the fun back in comics. So, guys, we need to get this campaign rolling. The only way this book could actually come to fruition is through your support. Please think about backing. Definitely share if you can. We have a lot in store, and we're hoping we can get that done. We need your support to make it happen. The team is ready. They're in the wings, ready to get pumped up to start working on these pages. But again, we need you guys to make this happen. So yes, we have a lofty goal, but as they always say, either go big or go home. I'm not going home yet. I'm putting everything on the line for you guys. We got an awesome 3-page pitch. Check it out. It's the little 3-page story that shows you a little bit about the characters, a little bit about the universe. Now picture that across 104 pages. If you love our cover, it's the same team going to be doing the interiors. It's going to be great. It's going to be wild. It's going to be adrenaline-filled, high-octane, bringing the anthropomorphic fun back. Galactic Rodents of Mayhem, guys. Please think about backing. We can't do it without you. Boom.
Boom.
Oh, man.
That's
This
awesome,
is coming
dude.
from
All
a
right.
man who loves wrestling, comics, horror movies, and video games, and you can see it right there, buddy.
So, man,
For
tell
sure.
us about this intro song, man. How did this come to be?
All right, so I said I wanted to tap into fun. I wanted to do something fun. I was thinking anthropomorphic. I was thinking something like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Star Wars. But with I didn't know what the animal was going to be, and then Sebastian got me in on the animal. But it's like, if you're going to tap into this like 90s Saturday morning cartoon mashup in a comic book on roids, I'm like, I need a song. I mean, like, that's like every cartoon they all had a song, right? Mask, Transformers, Silverhawks, like every single one, they had a song. I'm like, if I don't have a song when this thing opens, I'm like, so I started jamming out. Like, I had the song, the lyrics, I wrote it all out. And I had a dude that I work with. He did my soundtrack for Lair, Zalin Tallis, ZBT. Oh man, I'm like tongue tied here. ZBT Music on Twitter. But I told him, I'm like, dude, this is what I got. I showed him the references. I took my time. I said, this is the lyrics. I'm like, and I wrote it out how I wanted. I'm like, beat, fit. Like, I wrote it out. And when he finished, what he put it like this. Once I heard the finished product, I'm not gonna lie, man. I had like a tear coming down my eyes when I heard it. Like, I just put my head down and like tears are coming down. It just gave me that. I'm like, this is right. I'm like, it was just it. So it had to happen. I had to have it.
I don't blame you, bro. I mean, holy crap. I mean, man,
awesome.
Right?
Yeah, I love it. I love it so
I
much.
wanted the juices flowing. Yeah.
Yeah. And Kevin Frere said, sounds like a Dweezil Zappa song. I had it stuck in my head for an hour today. And I had it stuck in my head today too. One of our producers, Mr. Brian Blevins, also an admin, I was talking to him about the guests tonight, and I was like, oh, dude, you gotta see this thing. I was like, you were a Turtles fan and all that shit growing up. Blevins, he's like, yeah, it was, man. I was like, have you seen this yet? It even has a freaking intro song, dude. And like, we're on the phone, right? And all of a sudden we're like talking, and then like periodically we're going like Galactic Rodents of Mayhem. And like for like 2 minutes we're just going through. And he's like, man, I gotta back this thing.
I knew it was special when I'm driving to school, because I work in a school, and I'm pumping my own theme song, when I'm going in. It's just like, people like, it has energy, and it's like I said, it tugs on that nostalgia heartstring. And I know the Turtles, they survived a long time, and they did, and they outlasted, and they deserve it. But I wanted to do something that said, hey, this is coming from a dude who loves the Turtles, that say, hey, we could do another spin, keep what made the Turtles so cool, and still bring something new and fresh with introducing a different animal that could be cool and kind of like reinvigorated almost. And that was my idea, because again, fun, right? You just want to make things fun.
Now, when you wrote the story, did you envision animals that are different than this final product?
So Sebastian gets credit on the animals because I know when you do an anthropomorphic style, you can go different ways with it. Now, when I had my story and vision, I really wanted to tap into like that Star Wars type feel, that Guardians of the Galaxy vibe, like a universe you could get lost in. So the idea was the whole galaxy is basically anthropomorphic. Like there's no humans. It's just basically these anthropomorphic animals, different creatures, and each kind of animal has like their own planet. And we even have an opening crawl a la Star Wars with a symphonic track. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And it kind of like, I don't know if you guys are into Star Wars. I don't know if you want to play that one. It's like a minute and a half, but it's on the campaign. But again, I want people to get lost in this universe because I want to show that, hey, you could still make this fresh. You can still make it fun, have a gritty story to it, and make it work. So the style, I don't even know the animal. And that's what Sebastian was like, hey, capybaras. And I'm like, Cappy who? Like, Cappy, what are you talking about? And he's like, this is how he sold me. He literally sold me on this. He said, capybaras. He's like, they're the most chill animal in the world. Just like that. Seriously. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, how are they? I'm like, how? He's like, they get along with everything. All kinds of animals, turtles, birds, anteaters, all kind of animals. And then he said crocodiles. And I'm like, come on, man. A rodent? Because he said they're the largest rodent, first of all, in the world. So I'm okay, they're the largest rodent. Okay, we don't got guinea pigs or hamsters. Okay, it's the largest rodent. Okay, great. And he's like, but they swim. They're semi-aquatic. I'm like, what? And he's like, and they get along with crocodiles. He showed me a picture. I Googled and I found more pictures of them with crocodiles. So it ain't no Photoshop thing. And that was...
like riding on the back of them.
But there was one, I kid you not, I put it on my Twitter feed. Like it's almost like he's king of the crocodiles because he's amongst all these crocodiles and they're chill. They're just so mellow. And that energy of the capybaras, it was the fuel. I'm like, man, this is so much writing material. Like Galactic Rodents of Mayhem wouldn't be what it is without it being the capybaras. It just wouldn't. So I had the fuel, and that's where the story came about. So his style, I think, is more like kind of true to the animal as far as like more embellishment. So if you see like he's like it's just incredible the artwork we got because we got a great artist, colorist. We're doing a bang up job. But again, that's the style that he wanted. He wanted it to be more looking like animals instead of more cartoonish. Like the turtles are kind of cartoonish. He wanted like a true to life, representation of the animal that's being anthropomorphized.
Dude, you got to we've got to fulfill this 104-page book because this will be a television series. This will. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. I mean, it is that great. It really is. And so, all right, so you got your creative team. Like I said, you got Sebastian, right? Now, do we say Naves?
Sebastian Naves. Yeah, that
Naves,
works.
right? You got Sebastian. You got Tiago Barça.
Yes.
Who did The Few and the Cursed. Yeah. And it's lettered by Division Maines.
Davison Maines. Yeah.
Davis, I'm trying to figure out how to do this,
Oh, you're good. I got the Brazilian connection with Tiago and Davey, and then Sebastian's from Uruguay, so it's like a South American connection, and it just happened that way because I worked with Sebastian and Davey on Lair, and they did an amazing job, and we needed a colorist, and Davey referred Tiago, and I saw some of his work on The Few and the Cursed, and I'm like, wow, this book like it's escaped me. But on top of that, we gave a little color trial. So we had two covers. We had like a kind of retro Star Wars-like cover, which is going to be original cover. But something inside me was like, okay, we got this new color. So I'm like, let's give him a whirl. I'm like, listen, I want a promo image. I want it to be powerful. I want it to be something Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle-esque, where you have like the cover, the city backdrop, where I want it to be futuristic. We even got a manhole cover, which is like a subtle TMNT reference. So it's like I was specific, and what came back was just incredible. And then once Tiago put his colors on it, I'm like, okay, this is our new cover right here.
Yeah, it looks amazing. The book, it really does, and I love the Brazilian guys. A lot like from the Ed Bennett studio, and they're fantastic. I mean,
their pedigree is top quality, and some of them they don't get it as recognized as they should. But because of crowdfunding, they got a platform and they got steady work, and we're seeing some great stuff.
Yep. I'll be using some myself actually for the new She book, but that's my story. That's for another show. But okay, so you got Bash, you got Ripple, you got Mona Lisa, right? And so basically they find themselves with $100 million bounty on their head.
Yeah, so basically, what I'm doing with this, I don't know why I love chase scenes, and I guess maybe it's the cinematic or it's maybe the video game culture in me because I grew up as a gamer as well, where I want to make this comic book as fun as possible to read, and then I want to kind of challenge myself to create the story and have it hit all the points that it has to hit, especially characterization, feeling the connection, and doing it in a way where it starts out like, okay, there's the inner turmoil between the family, and then all of a sudden they're bounty hunters. To make matters worse, they get this bounty thrown on their head for good measure, and it's just like, okay, what the heck is going on? And the bounty that's thrown onto them, it's kind of like, this is another Star Wars reference here. It's not Darth Vader, it's Dark Raider.
Yeah.
And he's the head of space. And space is the Space Police Authority and Command Enterprises. So they police the whole galaxy. So they're the good guys, right? But there's something there that from the past, and it ties into the capybaras. They have a father figure who's a gecko. He's a tri-wielding gecko, okay? 3 guns, okay? I'm not going to say that. I will leave that for the book. He's a tri-wielding gunslinging gecko named Gangong. And he's the one that has the bad past with the Dark Raider, and that's what sparks this whole bounty. And yeah, we even got sharks in there. There's your Street Shark reference. He's just nasty. I mean, as far as the antagonists go, we have our Dark Raider, we have our sharks, we have sniper vipers. Okay, we're hitting it from all angles. I'm just saying, I wanted it to be fun in any way possible. I wanted to write something that I felt readers would enjoy, like they would enjoy reading, pretty much.
Oh yeah, I mean, and what's cool is that it's first of all, you could tell you obviously had fun doing this, and that's what's lacking in comics. I think, especially mainstream comics. I mean, you see the books that are fun, they do well. This is like Nile mentioned before, Gilbert, right? Nile, it's almost like a brand new, and we say the golden age of crowdfunding comics, but it's almost like a revisiting of the silver age of comics, when Marvel first came out, and then in the 90s of when people put out entertaining books, with that this escapist mentality and escapist material, because everyone's in tune, everyone knows what's going on in the news, everyone follows it. It's 24-hour news cycle times 1,000 because every one of your friends is posting about something, what I mean, that they saw on Twitter, and it gets annoying, and it's good just to sit down with a fun book and just enjoy yourself, like when you go to the movies. Now, of course, there's always going to be places for the art, art style, or you want something artsy, you want something that'll grab you. You know what I mean? Like, there is like the serious stuff you can do, and the real thought-provoking books and all. But what I love about you is that I love this departure, but I also love how different it is from the other books. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I want to show kind of
with Pistorella, you know what I mean, and and Lair, it's cool how it's like, you're very eclectic. Your books.
Yeah. That's what I want to show. I want to kind of show, like, I'm not just the horror guy. Like, I'm the guy, like, hey, give me something that I find interesting or that I want to tackle. I'll make it work. I mean, for all intents and purposes, let's say we wanted to write a story, because I know we're within the diversity age and representation and LGBTQ, and I'm not against all that representation, but I'm saying we got to do it in a way where it's organic for the story. Because for me, it's a message. Like, even this story, it's fun, it looks fun, but it's don't get me wrong, it's dark. It's really gritty, and there's a message behind this. I'm deliberate with the message, but I'm doing it in a way that it's relatable, because you're connecting with the characters, you're connecting with the family aspect, you're connecting with everything that goes with storytelling. And I'm not trying to jam something in your head. I'm trying to let everything flow, just breathe. I want to ebb and flow with this book.
You're not forcing the message of your story.
I don't ever want to do that.
You want it to be fluid, so while they're reading it, the story, the message of the story actually develops in their head as they're going along.
Well, that's
exactly like a new level of escapism.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's what Chris Claremont did with the X-Men.
Yeah.
And that's what Denny O'Neil did with the Green Arrow, Green Lantern stories. You can have your message, you can have it, but man, just make it entertaining. There seem to be so many publishers are putting out books based on what the book's about rather than what the story's about. You know what I mean? Like what the subject matter is rather than just a story, and it's real refreshing. And like I said, this looks fun, man. It just, and I know you're gonna get funded. But I hope you blow that up.
Yeah, I hope you blow this thing out of the water, man.
Yeah,
and this, you got another video on your campaign here. This is the opening crawl.
Yeah, so that was kind of like the Star Wars opening crawl. I wanted to put a little homage to Star Wars in there that introduces the universe of Galactic Rodents of Mayhem, because it's a big book. So I just kind of want to do with that opening crawl. I'm gonna put it like a text as like a enter credit page, so just people can see, and then we'll get into our story. So I'm just trying to create something open here that can be fun, that can be revisited in the right way. Because as much as I love Star Wars, and I don't want to be that guy, and I swear if I ever blow up to the way Billy Tucci says, where this could be a show or anything like that, if it gets to that point, I want to be true to my stories, in that you leave it alone and maybe you come back and you take it from a different angle, because again, that's where things get oversaturated, things get milked beyond belief, and we don't have anything original. We're just, recycling this kind of like regurgitating the same old stuff. I mean, how many times could we get another, superhero, but now a different ethnicity? It's like, come on, man. I mean, there's still something you could do with Batman. I mean, I know I never probably will write for DC, but what I would want to do with Batman would be too controversial and it would just never be done. So, but this is the kind of stuff you need to do to challenge it. And maybe with DC Black Label and what they're doing, I think they're kind of incorporating this type of mindset, so it doesn't mess with their continuity, but it's like their own separate stories, and I kind of love that. So that's kind of I want to show that you could still do stuff even with our, our iconic characters still.
Yeah, the stories are there. There's no such thing as I maybe a particular writer could be done with a character.
Yeah,
but there's no like that. I think we're done with that character. I think we've done. We've explored every avenue for that character. No way. That's just not the case. That's just not true. Maybe like I said, like a different writer, but they should be bringing on new, fresh faces, new, fresh ideas. Yeah. And again, like you, I mean, it's kicking ass with it, buddy. I got to tell you, we're really impressed. So,
I appreciate it.
Who are some of your influences? Who are you a fan of? Like, what do you like?
Oh man, I mean, my influences range from Joe Hill. I like what he does in horror. I like what he did with his Lock and Key, IDW. I just felt that series was phenomenal. Believe it or not, I mean, maybe people might not like him as much as a writer. Kirkman, just with his Walking Dead, he got me back into comics. I'm gonna be straight up, because I felt a major disconnect with Marvel, because it's like, again, some of these stories in the 2000s or whatever, where it's just like it wasn't calling me. It wasn't there. But then I'm like, hold up, there's a zombie comic out. I'm like, okay. I'm like, and then it pulled me in because it was just doing something different. Now, granted, I think that show run its course, and even the comic, I think, run its course, because I think there's a point where even in a zombie story, like, if you're not flipping it up and making it different as far as, okay, we get it, there's zombies, but if you don't have the government still alive or something, like, there's got to be something cooking where it's just not the same old move from community to community. But again, he brought me back in. Kirkman's another influence. Joshua Williamson is one. I like his Birthright series. And then old school, I like Kevin Eastman, what he did with the Turtles, gritty. And even Tucci, I know you might not believe it, but she has a special place in my heart, because that was, I want to say it's like a rebel kind of book. I remember, yeah, I'm serious, because I remember that in that time of, I must have been like, oh my God, what was I, like 11 or 12? And I remember my neighbor, he was a big comic collector. He must have been like a couple years older than me. He's like, you got to see this book. You got to see this book. I'm like, what? And I'm like, okay. I'm like, cool. And he's like, it's this chick, she's like a ninja or whatever. And I'm looking. And the coolest thing that he showed me, it was like she was naked. That was like, I guess, taboo. It was like, look, she's there. And he showed, and I had to look from like behind his lap, because the dude didn't even want to let me hold the comic. And one thing I do remember, how you ended the first issue is really dark. But what I liked about it, and this is where I feel like we're losing this, and I think this is where I have some of the 90s comics kind of has that as well, that juice. And like you said, some of the Silver Age, Bronze Age, like if you could mix all this in a new type of book, which I'm trying to do, it could work. But I like how we could connect with her, and how she was really feeling like the homeless dude died in a nasty way. Yeah, and it's sorry for spoiler alert, and you see her hugging the dude. He was like in so much pain, but there was man, that was deep. That stuck me as a young dude. And
then some good writing there.
We wanted, Peter and I, we wanted it to be like, she fails in the first book. You don't see that. She comes across.
Thank you.
And there's nothing wrong with it. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. You got to make it human. Plus, we also didn't know what the hell we were doing.
No, but yeah, it just works, and it still holds the test of time today. What's interesting, I was reading up on it again, and my wife is like, "What are you reading?" Because she sees the nigga. I'm like, "Babe, why do you just see the nudity?" I'm like, "Look, she's meditating."
Yeah,
I mean,
okay,
she's but it's how serious it is. She's taking it serious. She's deep in meditation. This is a serious thing. She's a ninja. But of course, the wife sees the nudity. I love her to death. I'm like, it's not that kind of book. And then I showed her with the homeless guy at the end. She's like, oh wow. I'm like, yeah, you see, But so Billy Tucci, you had that is just something that stuck with me. Stephen King is another one, just because of his books are out there. I have my Quentin Tarantino. There's another influence. I got so many video game culture as well. Shinji Mikami. He I want to say he did Resident Evil. I think I'm right. Hideo Kojima is another one. Metal Gear Solid. These are games that I grew up with that, as far as narratively, blew my mind. Yeah. And somewhere subconsciously within my writing, I don't know how I do it, but I incorporate some type of video game feel to my comic books. I don't know how, but I know with Under the Flesh, when I debuted that one, I'll never forget. The dude was like, man, the first issue, the way you just introduced all the characters felt like a video game. I'm like, okay, maybe that's how. Okay, I just took it at that, but I got a lot going on. So, for those who like my work, I just want to be prolific. I just want to continue showing that I can be someone that's worthy to be published in the industry on a mainstream level, not for the lack of trying, but, I have to do it through the crowdfunding way, the hard way. And again, if for some reason I would love this book to fund, I'd love to smash it out of the gate. If it doesn't fund, guess what? We're coming back. We got a plan B. There's always something. If it funds, great. If it doesn't blow it out the top, it's just a part of the process. And in full transparency, I know the 15K goal is kind of high in some aspects. People might see it high, but you're getting a 100+ page book from this type of quality that it's top pedigree. It's of the highest order. I just don't happen to have any cachet in my name. But I could show you that talent-wise, I could put each story together, and I can put an art style, I can put a team together that can fit that type of book. And again, I just want to show that I have range, that I can do different type of things as well. So I'm all about the comics, man. It's such a medium where, again, I see it as a cinematic blueprint. The power of comic books.
Bro, you were doing it the Deltrez way. That's how you're doing it, man.
I'm doing it the Deltrez way.
The Deltrez way. The Deltrez way. The Deltrez way, man.
Now, I guess that's the way. If it helps, I'll do it. I'll take it.
Now I have to ask, is that your face on Han Solo in the background?
Dude, if you saw that, you're a G, my dude. Yes, I'll see if I can get out of the way. Yeah, that's me as Han Solo. Han Solo is one of my favorite characters in Star Wars, and for me, the first Star Wars, I love just how he was. It was like he was on the edge of his seat. That Greedo shot first controversy, and I know Lucas you had it right the first time. The only one who shot was Han Solo. Okay, and because that bothered me, again, like there's a reference on just that scene in Galactic Rodents of Mayhem that I spin it in my own way, and I try to justify the person doing it in a way like, hey, sometimes you push to do this kind of thing, and you're still going to be a badass, and you're still going to be a hero in my book. So the little Star Wars.
Well, we have to give that credit to Brian Blevins. He had pointed that out. He had pointed that out. Yeah, I was gonna let him sweat a little bit, like it was me that saw it, but no, I'll give him the credit. Now I want to touch base on something with you because there's a lot of things going on in all forms of media, right? And that's nostalgia, right? Is that what is your take on that? Because before you answer, I'm just gonna say I think a lot of our generation is nostalgic because things to us seem so much better, so we're trying to recreate those things with our own twist on them. Because what I think's being churned out, like you said, is kind of like force-fed entertainment that's just it's not flying.
Not for that. The way you just said it and framed it, you gave me, how do you call it, chills. You made my hair stand up because you're hitting it on what I exactly want to do and how other people want to tap into the nostalgia because there's good stuff there, man. And I feel like somehow, like, it's like, oh, if you don't like what we're reading, go read the old books. Well, yeah, because that's what I'm mostly doing. I'm reading Kevin Eastman's whole run again. The new one that I kind of like is a Batman Ninja Turtle crossover. I thought that was kind of good. But again, it's this connection to something good. But at the time, that stuff blew my mind at that age. And I don't see nothing blowing my mind now. And I got kids, a little guy growing up. He's almost 2 in a few months. It's like, what's going to be blowing his mind? Of course, you're going to be seeing what Daddy watches, and it's going to be that kind of stuff. So he's going to be special growing up because he's going to have different influences than what mainstream is trying to give. I got nothing against mainstream. It's just that they have the power already. You know, like if you look at Disney, right? It's like, hey, we'll throw a Black Mermaid out there. Okay, you can do that, but is that the right way to go about it? I mean, I kind of wanted to see what I remember growing up from The Little Mermaid as being, you know, I have my redhead Ariel that I was in love with. If you look at Beauty and the Beast, they kept it the way. Like, I feel like you should do it that way. I get creative freedom. I get creative license. You can do whatever you want. You own it. But I'm saying this is a trend it's on hyper drive. It's like we're getting too much of this. Now we got the Bond. You know, everywhere you look, it's something, and it's just like, why? I don't know. I just feel it's not original, and it's not doing credit to the medium of storytelling. I feel like you got to give the audience credit. The readers are smarter than you could ever imagine. But the problem with movies is you go in, you pay, you can't get your money back, and the studio already banked on it, and you're gonna go because it's jarring your brain and you want to see this crap, how it's really going to go. And the controversy is getting you there. So unless you really don't go and there's this like mass revolt on like a movie that like just no one will go, and maybe like kind of Solo, how the numbers kind of dip down, maybe you'll kind of see maybe some kind of change. But again, I don't know. There's just a lot going on in mainstream where I feel like I like this kind of crowdfunding boom, and all I want to do is be a part of it. That's all I want to do. I just want to show that, hey, I can bring something to the table and show that I earn my spot here to be something, you know, unique and indivital.
Yeah. Damn right you can, bro.
So Brian Blevins asked, you know, he asked us to ask you, because you mentioned it. Have you read the Batman Turtle books and the Batman animated Turtle books?
Okay, so I read, there's 2 volumes. I read both volumes, and I'm going to buy, I got to wait for payday, the Blu-ray, the animated, because I heard that one was good. I don't want any spoilers, please, if anyone you've seen it. But I have planned to watch that one, so yes.
It's horrible.
Oh, dang, really?
I don't know.
They're not even worth the money?
I don't know. I'm just messing with you.
Dude, oh, you're good now.
What?
What?
Like what? Anywho,
that's
man.
it.
See, I'm getting my second win now, Billy. All that medicine's kicking in.
Oh no! You're gonna get the Tucci second win.
I'm gonna get that Tucci second win, man. So let me ask you a question though, right? Nostalgia. It's something we all love. It's something, you know, we go back to. I mean, for me, you know, like your son, I've got 2 twin boys, you know, and they're going to be 14 months. But those boys, they're going to grow up differently than some of these other kids. They're going to be watching Batman the animated series. They're going to be watching the 1994 Spider-Man. They're going to be watching all that stuff. I mean, you know, we talk nostalgia, but I kind of saw, the Mobsy had mentioned a good point. It's almost though like with all the media that's coming out now, television, some comics, you know, video games, you know, are we entrapping ourselves in nostalgia right now?
I don't want to say we're trapping ourselves in nostalgia, because if I get that sentiment for sure, but if there's a way to go about it, I think if you can play on the nostalgia but show, hey, guess what? This is not just another Turtles look-alike book. This is not another like trying to rip off of the Ninja Turtles. This is written by a dude who grew up on it, who wants to kind of bring something new to the table to show, hey, we can have a new franchise that plays on what made the Turtles successful and bring something new into this new wave. So it's not, you know what I'm saying? It's not going to be predicated on just the Turtles and what they could do. It's going to be, hey, we're going to piggyback on that love, on that nostalgia, because it's a hell of a drug. But at the same time, we're going to package it in a new way that's going to show, hey, listen, we can put out a great story that's not going to play into the way the medium is going now, as far as with the political stuff, with the diversity stuff. But like I said, I'm all for diversity, right? When I put out Pistolera, I didn't say, hey, I'm an underrepresented writer and I got a Mexican woman empowered this female. No, man. I'm like, it's a Tarantino-esque vendetta Western. Check it out. If you like Westerns, you're going to enjoy it. And I had people that I don't know that backed my book that liked it and really did. So for me, that's like, okay, I'm showing, you know, some pedigree. I'm showing that I can do a little something here. So I think nostalgia is not a way to get entrapped in it, but I think it's a way to enlighten and show, hey, using nostalgia, we can still create new franchises. There was something that I saw, I don't know what, it was on Twitter, and it was something with a franchise or Disney or the new Star Wars movies or something like, I don't know, it's something, a new franchise came in. why don't you make a new franchise of Star Wars, or why the continuation or something like that. And then I just tapped in Galactic Rodents of Mayhem. I'm like, as a quick plug, I'm like, new franchise? Someone said new franchise, and boom, I blasted it there. But again, I'm trying to show, you can make new franchises. Everything nowadays with comics, I know people are worried about comics. Let me tell you something. Comics are not going to go anywhere for the simple fact that as long as crowdfunding exists, there's going to be people buying comic books. And if you look at the success, when that becomes more mainstream as far as crowdfunding goes, you're going to have content that's exclusive, and it's all going to be these streaming wars. It's going to be, okay, Netflix has this. Well, Amazon has The Boys. Well, this one has She. Well, this one has Cyberfrog. Well, this one has Galactic Rodents of Mayhem. It's going to be that, and it's going to be fun because you got a lot of new books out there. My thing is, when you want to tap into the medium of storytelling and use it to propagate or just for propaganda, that's where you're cutting yourself at the limbs there. You're cutting yourself at the knees. You're just not doing the medium a disservice, and you're indoctrinating. you're indoctrinating people. I mean, I see some stuff on Netflix. I'm just like, you didn't need to do this way. It's just like, are you serious? Like, now I get what, like, it's just so in your face. It's like, come on, man. It doesn't need to be that way.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Man, my boy
which is why I'll be.
Nile?
What's that?
Our boy here's got it going on, man.
He's freaking preaching, bro. He's like,
Yeah,
I'm gonna wait for him to pull out the rag and wipe in his face. Now listen here, people.
Well, we got to talk to our executive producer and bring you on as a guest host when one of us can't make it.
Seriously, right?
I'll be there, dude. I'll be there. For this reason, I'll be. What do you call it? Like, I know there's gatekeeping in publishing, so I guess the way I think is kind of against the status quo. So I was like, nah, we don't need to. We got to keep this guy really low. We got to keep him off the radar so his book could die out and he can't really do anything. That's the way. Of course, this is my paranoia theory, right? Like, I'm being blacklisted by the mainstream industry, but I feel like. This kind of stuff is in what we need is done in so few small doses. And I feel like comics need it in big doses. Like, you get some fun books in comics. I'm not saying no, but even then it's just like, it'll be like a quick theory and you making a 5-issue series on this theory on like the wall in Mexico or on or population. And they're cool and they make for great stories. Don't get me wrong. But again, we're missing some of opportunities to make really cool, fun books. I think I saw Conan was going to do a crossover with Moon Knight. I love Moon Knight. I love Conan, but I don't think that's a crossover for me that works. But I think there's crossovers that can work. But again, this is just more about what I feel what's wrong in mainstream as far as, crossovers, big two, and that type of thing.
Actually, I have a question for Billy now that you just mentioned Moon Knight. Now, Billy, you're a Werewolf by Night fan like myself.
Oh, I think I lost you guys.
Oh, yeah. No,
you're still here. Yeah, you'll still snap back in. So you're a Werewolf by Night fan like myself, Mr. Tucci.
Yes.
Did you develop any feelings towards Moon Knight?
No, not at all. Why?
Yeah?
No, I never. Moon Knight never. I got to be honest with you, I wasn't a big fan. And then I remember. I mean, I like the Sienkiewicz stuff, know. But I don't know. I liked the way he looked, but he kind of.
There you go. The way he looked. That's what sold me. That's what pulled me to pull off the spinner rack. That's what pulled me to pull the issue. Just how he looked. I just thought he looked cool. He's all in white, and that's what I love mostly.
Yeah.
So
And I think I loved the Stephen Platt when he came out with it. I just thought that was so dynamic. That was the same thing with Todd did with Spidey, and then what Jim Lee did with the X-Men, and then Stephen came along a few years later. To do that. I love that whole revision thing about it, but I don't know. I gotta be honest, I don't think I ever gave him a chance really, because he kind of seemed like a Batman.
Yeah, I could see that.
Well, he is like Marvel's Batman. Like they classify him like that. But I've always I gravitated toward the aesthetics of the character design. But I really never fell in love with any of the stories, to be honest with you. I'm curious to see, though, because they are going to bring that on, what is it, the Disney Plus? Is it Disney Plus or a movie? I don't know, but they are doing Moon Knight. And,
I'll be interested, yeah. I can't, off the top of my head, pick a Moon Knight run that I really enjoyed. I know the latest one, I think, was with Warren Ellis that I started reading. Was interesting, so I got to finish that one. But it was interesting, I'll give it that. That one was a good take on it, on Moon Knight. I thought it was clever.
Yeah, I never really gave it a chance. But what I was reading when I got back into comics after '88 with the whole, with the Amazing Spidey 300 and all. But I sort of like in weird stuff. Like I love Daredevil. I always love Daredevil. I love Lee Weeks' run on it. But I love Typhoid Mary. I just love that character. But then I also I don't know if you guys remember, there was a book called Fool Killer that came out.
I know you're talking about.
He was like a Punisher guy, right? But worse like that. I like Fool Killer.
And I just love that. I got them all in boxes. I can't wait till we redo my kids' playroom. We're gonna make a guest room out of it, and I got all my books in there. And I can't wait to go through because I just love weird stuff like that. I remember reading it and just laughing and stuff like, wow, this is fun stuff. And even then, that's 91, 92. The books were fun, Yeah,
they were fun. I think the Spider-Man runs too. I remember just growing up and go after church. Mom would take us to you could get a comic anywhere back then. I think it was like a deli.
I miss those days, man.
And I'd love it because I know I was getting a new comic and Spider-Man. Any book you picked up, even if you didn't follow the other issues before, like it had some kind of closure. And they had some villains there'd be villains I never heard of. One was like Man Mountain Marco or some dude. And I'm like, who is this guy? And they came up with so many villains, but you could escape in any kind of way and be done with that issue and just enjoy it. And then, wait for the next one or anything else that kind of crosses your path. Absolutely. But you can get them anywhere. That's what I love.
That's how Batman was for me in the early 90s. I really jumped on Batman and what Chuck Dixon was writing and Nolan was drawing and all that stuff. I mean, those were another book. Like you could go anywhere, pick one up, and each issue had like its own closure. Yet it will pick up in the next issue. So if you miss it, I mean, when you're that young, you don't really grab. You're not buying them in order, right? Because I go to the wherever I remember I was in second grade and we went on a trip. Everywhere we stopped, and that's when you could literally almost buy a comic book anywhere. Everywhere we stopped, I'd get 1 or 2 comic books. I came back from Florida with like 100 comics. It was the crazy, and we drove from Connecticut down to Florida, and everywhere we stopped, I'd be like comic. None of them were in order, but I mean, that's what I hope. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with Peter Simeti, but with Alterna Comics, he is trying to push getting books back into some of these places, other retailers and things.
Yeah, if he can do that, I think we kind of need that because like you can do that, you can kind of recapture or reinvigorate this comic boom. I mean, if you think about comics are anywhere, right? Like you watch a movie, right? Imagine coming out of the movie theater and you just have like a rack on how many Avengers or whatever. You just got like a book there. People could pick it up and buy. Maybe they could get, I think that was somewhere I heard that was like an idea that should have been done, and I'm like, why wouldn't that be done? I mean, like that's like comics. I mean, and I feel like people when they go in a comic book shop, they don't know what they're doing if they're just new. Like I feel like and that's a problem. I feel like we should kind of. I remember it was in Jersey. I went to Brunswick, and there was a shop. It was a comic book shop, and I just loved going there. Because when we visit there, we'd always go. And at that time, for some reason, I was into Vietnam War movies. And I wanted a Vietnam War type comic, and I'm looking, I don't know where the heck to find it. And I asked the guy, but he showed me, and it was like this book called Nam, and I picked up one issue. I think it was done by Marvel, and it was just cool, like that feeling you can go in and find something. I mean, I know there's people that go in maybe don't feel that warmth, or I don't know. I mean, like it's got to be a unanimous, radical change where people could go in and maybe. Through genres, you see your horror books, you see I don't know how you do it, because I go straight to the graphic novels. I stopped the pull list. I had the pull list. It's cool, but again, I read a book in that 30 minutes, I'm done, and then I gotta wait till next month for the next book, and then I gotta read the first issue again. It's not all there. I'm not engaged the way I should be with a book, and then so I ended up just waiting for the trade paperbacks. And then when you have your comic shop miss an issue, you got like 1, 2, 5, 6. It's like, come on. So it's like that. It was a disconnect for me. So I always go straight to the graphic novel, and I'll look for titles like kind of like what Tucci was saying, something that's weird or something that catches your name. And I'll look. I'm like, what's this? Boom, and I'll pull it out, and I'm like, okay, or like, oh, okay. And that's how I enjoy picking up new stories or finding out stuff that I didn't even know was done.
Yeah, well, it's funny. We had a conversation with my wife with the death of Superman, and that's not the first time it's happened. If you go into a comic shop and they try, you don't get the right things. But when Debbie went, my wife, I sent her. She worked in the city, and I was working from home in Queens. And she went to the comic book shop in Manhattan on her lunch break with the death of Superman, and that book was already like $10-15 or something. They had 3.5 million of
These
them.
are the good old days of like comics, right? Like hunting down a book was awesome.
Yeah. Well, here's what's weird is that she bought it because I wanted it, right?
Yeah.
And then, because here's this young girl, right? Young professional, whatever.
Another story.
You do? Oh, here's Matthew. So what? Tell the story, Matthew. Say hello. There's Matthew, the wild kid. Can you see him?
So,
Hey,
Hang on,
Matthew.
let me get onto OBS so I try to take because it's just distracting. Hang on. Where are you? Sorry to do this to you. Where is he? Skype. Here we go. All right, there you go, Matt. Yeah, stand. Yeah, there you go.
Cool.
Yeah. Tell the story. Yeah.
Oh wow.
That's about 100 Barrel Prismacolor pencils all over the floor.
so what happened was,
Look at
the guy saw that my mom bought this one comic book that was popular at the time. So he's like, oh, well, if she's going to do this, then maybe we can, like, expand our business. And so he started talking, like, do you want to buy this one as well? And all these rare comic books.
You know, the higher end books. And it was
Oh,
Superman
my
75.
God.
And she's like, I think it was Superman 75. And she's like, this idiot. You know, and she's like, if he was smart, and that's why she said, we can do this. She's like, we can do this business. Because she said, if he was smart, he would have said, oh, you're going to buy Superman 75? You know, we have Superman 74, 73, 72, 71 right on the shelf over here for $1.25 each. And you could buy it to build up to read the story.
Hell yeah.
And but that was the mentality. Jeez.
I'll do that.
That's what sparked
Oh my
everything.
God!
Yeah. So that was the mentality back then, because it was just this collector's mentality, and it's just turned into events. You know what I mean, and things like that. And that was just the beginning, and now it's all this, like you said, this cramming, this social, their social justice garbage or whatever.
Yeah, it's just not fun.
Yeah, hiring writers on more so who they are than what they can do.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's all this quick fix. It's this changing characters. It's all this event type. What's the word? Not collectability. What's the word I'm looking for? This like the short-term gain. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like a gimmick, no?
Yeah, gimmicks, exactly. These short-term gimmicks.
What they're doing,
Yeah, and they fail, and that's why books like yours, you come out with this rock and roll, you know what I mean? Superstar space adventure, and and that's
cool way to say
we
it.
need more you. We need more Gilberts out there. We really do.
I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. That's all I want to do. I don't want to put a Band-Aid on an open wound. You know, I'm trying to stitch up some work here with using my own stitch job.
Yeah. Hey, Nile, I got to ask a question. My OBS, I guess not. Why does my OBS look dark?
You have dark mode on.
What do you mean dark?
It looks like there's I'm looking at it on the iPad and it looks good, nice and bright. But our OBS, we look kind of like there's almost like a film over it, like a dark film.
Oh, I know. I hear.
Well, you're on my OBS, not your OBS, so I don't know where you're looking at.
All right. No, it's not it. All right, no big deal.
It's this. It's the
No, it's not. All right, it doesn't matter.
Anywho.
But no, you're kicking ass, man. So so what after this book? You get this book done. You got 31 days, right? You've already got over $5,000. You need to make $15,000. Everybody out there, if you can help Gilbert, I mean, and this is a book that should be out there, that should be on the shelves. If you guys can't contribute, at least try to share it on your social media. Tell your friends about it. He's got 31 days, and let's make this a reality so he can move on to the next thing. And what's the next thing, buddy?
So I do have Galactic Rodents of Mayhem with Sebastian, where we're going to be on this, where if we do fund, I do 3 volumes. And then after those 3 volumes are done, like a trilogy, we do a prequel and show how the capybaras got into the whole bounty hunter trade to begin with and how that happened. But right now, I also have another book that's going to be coming out. I'll just give a quick little snippet. It's going to be on Kickstarter, because that's me. I use both platforms.
Yeah,
I got to make books. I got to put stuff out there, so I got to be prolific. And this one, I'm going to be working with my Under the Flesh artist. Okay, we got for the people who backed Under the Flesh, I met a dude who backed it at TampaCon. He's like, you did Under the Flesh, right? And I just thought that was surreal. It was just cool. But that book is not going to be abandoned in any way, shape, or form. It's not. It's going to come back really strong. I'm just building up my hype. But real quick, I'm going to be working with Under the Flesh artist Jail Jaws, and what we're doing is something like Lovecraft meets Jaws. Okay. And it's going to be called The Deep Dark, and it's literally going to be 24 pages, and we're looking to do that in October. So that's me and JL on that, and it's going to be a special book. So 24 pages is going to be. Leave it up to the public if it gets anything more than that, but that's going to be cool. Mm-hmm. And then from that, I got other stories, man. Like I got a Kung Fu superhero story I always wanted to do. I got something that's like Contra. I don't know if you ever heard of Contra, the video game.
Yeah, definitely.
That's kind of like Contra, like an open world Contra. I kind of want to do it. And that's going to be with 3 ladies. I'm going with the females here, okay? But I'm going on the females that I love growing up. Sarah Connor, Ellen Ripley, like the real badass women. Jill Valentine from Resident Evil, some badass women. And that's going to be called The Adventures of the Star Gunners. And it's going to be really out there. But again, these are projects that I got working on. I got artists attached, and it's just waiting for the right time to plug it. And I got one other great book with, I don't even know if I should be saying this, but I'll say it out here. It's with a Mr. Super Looper.
Oh,
yeah, Super Looper.
I'm talking Super Looper. We got something that we want to bring to Indiegogo on March, and then that's going to be another 24, 28 page, maybe if we get a good reception. And that's going to be, it's something different. It's going to be really different, but it's going to be called Night Cross. And again, the way you guys are feeling about comics, those are the artists I'm tying into, and I want them invested in the story so we can put out some good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Now, how can everyone keep up with what you're doing?
Follow me on Twitter. Follow me anywhere you can. And help. Like I'll never forget. I'll never forget this. And this was when I know the Comicsgate boom was happening like a little bit last year, and I had Lair, and I was trying to get on the scene in any way I could. And I'll never forget someone. I think it was Danny Agent is his name. If you see him on Twitter. And that was, I assume that was him because that was the name that came across. And he's like, it was the super chat. I think it was the EVS super chat. He's like, take a look at Lair, like get him on the show. And it was an $80 super chat. Holy cow. Like, dude, I'll never forget that. These things that I'll just never forget. I'm like, man, this dude's pining for me. Like, that was cool. Like, he's trying to get me out there. Like when you guys share for me on my behalf because you legitimately want to see the work that I'm doing or you're that excited, that's a humbling experience for me. And I want to be that guy that I want to do first more for my fans. I don't want to be that story where, oh, remember when he was a nobody, he made it, and then he just disappeared or he just treated it. I'm telling you, I'm humble as it comes. I'm humble as it comes. I just want to keep that energy going. If I could crowdfund every book and not make a profit, but just crowdfund every single book and get it done, I'm rich because I'll have my books. That's all I want. That's just something I can put my name on. I got my Western down, piece of boom. I can have my Lovecraft one down. I can have my that's all I want. And in full transparency, I know the 15K is kind of high, but again, you get a lot of work. And the printing is going to be expensive, right?
Yeah.
And this was my downfall because, again, I just went with the story. I wanted this to be 40 pages. It became something epic, so I went with it. Okay, great. It's 100 pages. But printing is another thing. Shipping is another thing. So I didn't even put shipping into calculation. I was hoping through stretch goals that we can get there. I have things planned up. If we can get there, great. If not, if I could just make the goal, that'd just be it. Sebastian would be happy. He got work that he's going to be depending on. Tiago would be happy. They want nothing more than to give you guys something to get excited about with Galactic Rodents of Mayhem. And it's a pro quality work. And with anything I put out since 2014, I started doing crowdfunding. Everything I put out has been pro quality. Mm-hmm. So that's what I want to do. And I just want to show everyone out there that I got stuff coming and I don't ever want to stop. And that's all I want to do is just create comics for you guys.
Awesome.
Amen,
awesome.
brother.
We got a $5 super chat. Thank you, Michael Easterwood. Yes. He said, I backed Lair based on the cover alone and was not disappointed. Just curious, how would the Anthro cameo tier work with someone with a beard?
We'll make it work. You know how we make it work? One of our characters, and I don't want to say he's my favorite, but on our cover, Ripple, the one with the digi blade, I like to call it. That's like my lightsaber. You know, it's basically it's a kind of like a lightsaber that could just turn into like any kind of weapon. You know, you got ones that look like maybe an axe, one that looks like maybe like a sai or something. They could shoot out. It's just different. But if you look at Ripple very closely, Michael Easterwood, he got that little twirly mustache and he has a little beard, and that's intentional. So if you wanted to be looking just like you as whatever animal, Sebastian's to the task. And as an anthro cameo, you also get a black and white sketch of your creation. So we'll give you a good spot in the book, and you're gonna get a sketch, or we'll make the beard work. We'll make it work. We'll make it work.
I bet you will. I bet you will.
Cool.
Well,
all right. Wow, man. So,
will you be in any shows or anything like that?
I've been doing some shows. I did one with Adam Post, which was great energy. It so happened it was yesterday. I got in line with you guys, which was cool. I got some other small time shows I want to do, and hopefully I want to see if I can graduate to getting Ethan to get on his show, because I think his fan base would gobble this up, just because I know they're tired of Star Wars, and I know Cyberfrog is anthropomorphic, and I got another anthropomorphic book where I think it's a good mix. Like, I think his audience would benefit from seeing that. So I know it's a game. I got to just take my time and hopefully make the rounds, and hopefully they could see, because I get it. I get it. You know, I didn't work in DC for all that time. I didn't work in Marvel. I don't have that publishing credit. I want it. Maybe I'll get it one day. But I just want to show that this isn't my first rodeo, and I'm a self-published professional. I could say that right there. So
that's right.
That's all. I just want to give to the movement. You know, that's all I want to do. This renaissance, I want to be a part of it, and I just want to keep on showing that, you know, we could still do great things in comics. That's all I want to do.
Well, you know, Ethan's really good with young guys. Reach out to him. Doesn't hurt, man. Reach out to everybody.
I don't want to seem like the leechy, like, hey Ethan. I don't. Like, even like Billy, when you followed me, I thought that was the coolest thing in the world, dude. I'm like, what, Billy too? I'm like, okay, that's like, that was just cool. So I would love for it to be organic in that way. And hopefully, you know, maybe like in the last week, if things are a little shaky or something, you know, I might try to, you know, be a little aggressive through a super chat. Maybe I'll just try to, in a nice way, like, hey, we don't, you know, there's one backer here that I know we don't want to see him cry because Galactic Rodents of Mayhem didn't fund. You know, so I want you to just, you know, if we can get there. So I know getting on shows, it makes a good impression, and sometimes when you do a few shows, people will see this guy. Like, okay, yeah, he's really good. Okay, cool. He's, you know, I feel comfortable now. I made that connection. Sometimes it takes a few times where someone can say, okay, I'll put money on this guy.
Well, it is a business, though. So you got to think of it. It's a business, so it doesn't hurt to reach out, man.
Just ask.
You know, it's a business, because in the end, you know, you don't want to be. You don't want to be shy of it, of the goal, and you don't get it done. You're like, man, if I just call that guy.
Yeah. Well, you want to know
reach
something?
Out to everybody.
Maybe you guys could give me a little insight, because I had someone from Kickstarter, and they did board games, and they did great on board games, and they kind of wanted to team up with Galactic Rodents of Mayhem, and they're like, hey, could we team up? I could kind of introduce my audience to it, but I want to have my logo on the cover of the book. And for me, I'm like, let me run it by Sebastian. He's co-creator, and I run it. Sebastian's like, I'm not feeling the cover on the book, but how we're gonna know how many people he brings in? And I'm thinking Indiegogo. I'm like, okay, I could create a secret perk. I can give it to you. You can share it to your audience, and this is what we'll do. We'll make an exclusive edition, right, of GROM. You hire your artist, you know, whatever, you know, you bring that artist, we approve it, and on the back of the cover, like, I don't know if you've seen Midtown Comics does this, like this cover variant brought to you by Midtown Comics. On the back of the cover, we'll have your logo, and it'll be like this version, which you could only get through the people you're sharing it with in a business kind of way. Like, I'm trying to. So, and when I said he wanted his logo on the cover, I don't blame him. You know, I really don't. But I'm like, you know, I don't want any kind of misinterpretation, at least because I don't know what you're bringing to the table. There's people that have a Midas touch. Like, you know, like say someone that has that touch, like, hey, listen, I want to do that, or I want to do that partnership with an exclusive cover. I feel like you said, that's a business move. It's a power play, and I would, share it with your audience. Only these backers are going to get this cover because it's a secret link. No one else is going to even know it exists. If you don't want it on the page, it won't. It'll just be some exclusive thing that, hey, I got this. So I'm trying to kind of get towards that approach. Just a matter of trying to play the game. I'm just learning. I don't want to be too aggressive in this thing. And again, I'm learning a lot. I don't have representation, so there's a lot that goes with it. And just a quick little note. I know we're going to end it. Pistoletta had caught a film producer's interest. It's just someone that, you know, again, this is all in the beginning stages, but I was able to speak with him on the phone, and it's getting to the point where this is good talks, but it's like some of these things could be out of my realm but I know I'm onto something. Because if I got someone that wants someone would be, if they want AV rights to Pistoleta, that's a good sign. And then I got some dude on Kickstarter that sees something with my book that wants to put his cover on it. Like that's a good sign. So it's just a matter of connecting with the right people that could make some things happen for the benefit of however it has to be. I want mutual benefit. I want it to be mutually beneficial. Because I told the dude, I said straight up, I don't pay no fees for none of this. Like I just don't. I said $15,000. I'm not even getting a profit. I'm like, if you want to get hey, I want 10% of this. Like I need to be in the green. I need to be in the black before. When I'm in the black, then we can talk about that. But I can't even entertain that.
Right.
But just to show you guys, because you guys are pros, but this is where the realm I'm getting into. So where I might need some assistance on that because I don't want to make any kind of mistakes, moving forward.
Well, we're new with the crowdfunding thing too, so we're learning.
Yeah.
You know what? That's you guys have to. You guys really have to sit down and talk about it. And if you don't feel it in your heart or your head, then pass on it.
Yeah, pass on it.
Up, right? No.
Go with that intuition, man, and don't never. I'll be honest. I got over the whole like not being aggressive and stuff like that, and it's done nothing but wonders for me. Just ask.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario is they say no. And honestly, I get more yeses than nos. I don't know. Maybe I got one no. Not the two.
My issue with this whole thing, I'm not into the I don't follow the who got drama with this person, who got drama. I'm like, I just want to make books. So I'm not trying to offend anybody. But again, like you said, sometimes you got to be persistent, polite, and persistent. But I mean, either way, someone's not gonna like something. And this is just the business we're in, but it's just when you get into that fine, how finicky, I guess, where it gets to that point where I'm like, listen, man, I love everybody. I'm the dude in high school. I got along with the geeks. I got along with the jocks. I got along with the gangbangers. I don't know how. I'm like a chameleon. I got along with everybody. Like, I'm seeing my backers. I'm like, man, I know from a Twitter that this guy don't like this guy. I just don't even want to focus on that. It's just like, you back
no, you don't focus on any of that.
Just channel out that energy. And if I have to just be how I have to be, then just that's how it is. I appreciate you, Nile, at least for saying that. Like, just be aggressive. What's the worst that could happen? I'm just
stay positive. You got good energy, right? And you do what you do. I mean, keep the negativity out. If negativity comes up, it's an easy way to just you flat say, "Oh, that's not even." I don't even want to talk about that. It's nothing of your concern, right? You're on your own journey, and you just want to spread the message and hand out that map so everyone knows how to get to where you're going.
Yep, and again, it doesn't hurt to ask. Don't be a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
But it doesn't hurt to ask. Reach out.
Just politely follow up.
Everyone's busy. They don't get back to you.
Exactly.
Shoot, you know how much DMs I have on Twitter? Oh my God. I'm just like, whoa. I didn't know it was gonna be this big. Like that. How many people asked for it? I'm like, oh boy. All right. Well, I guess I'll give it a shot.
On that note, I did like a little post on Facebook where I'm like, hey, looking for an artist, and I showed the pages of what I did. One page from each work: Lair, Under the Flash, Pistoleta, Galactic Rodents. I got flooded on my DMs. I still got people like, hey, did you check my stuff? Or hey, I'm like, I'm still looking at portfolios. I'm like, and that just showed me. I'm like, man, guys that are in the industry I'm like, they just can't look at it because it's almost like you hit the lotto. Like whoever just posts up, okay, well, this is a top one here. I'll just take a look at it. So it's almost like maybe I say just keep on sending, keep on following up because it is like that. So guys, it's not we're trying to ignore you. And I'm not even on that level, but this was just on a small level. And the ones who stick with it, not for nothing, there's this one artist who just every day he's like, hey, good morning, Gilbert, how you doing? And I'm like, you know what? This guy, I'm gonna end up working with him because he's polite and it's just everyday type of thing.
Persistence, man. He's persistent.
I gotta work on that. I'm gonna try. I got 30-something days. Hopefully we can crack this funding and make a full book.
I'm sure you're gonna get there, man. I'm sure you're gonna get there, and just keep spreading the word. We'll help keep spreading the word. Everyone that's watching, if you can back it. EJ Morg said, crowdfunding comics, I'm passing on Star Blades for capybaras. So,
nice. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Virtual hug right there. Virtual hug right there.
So yeah, man, help support it. I mean, you were at. Let's see where you're at. Let's see if anything's changed. So let's refresh the screen here. What do we got? Oh, you did, yeah. So you went from $5,019 to $5,099. So you're at 122 backers. Nice. You've got 31 days left. So yeah, guys, if you can back it. It seems like an awesome book. I'll I personally will be backing this one as well. So, if you guys like it, back it, share it. If you can't back it, share it, because when you're doing this stuff and you're into crowdfunding, I mean, we're all constantly backing and backing. But the best thing anyone can do is share. Share it on your Twitter, share it on your Facebook, share it on your Instagram, because you may not be able to financially do it right now, but you may know 1 or 20 other people that are like, oh shoot, yeah, I'm gonna do this.
Seriously, it helps out a lot.
And then Rod Looper, hey, Super Looper, thanks for the super chat. Looper. Gilbert with Fly High, he is on the right path, growing slowly and steady, and will grow bigger next year. Just watch. You know it, man.
I hope so, brother. That's the plan. Little by little, take our baby steps.
That's it, dude. You got a good quality book. I don't think 15,000 is an unreasonable goal for what you're putting out. I mean, even with like the theme song stuff, it's just the care that you're putting into it, the whole package. I mean, it shows the passion you guys have, you and your whole team. You'll make the goal. You'll make the goal, and I don't think 15,000 is unreasonable at all.
No, and dude, send this out to the comic press too. Send it to Bleeding Fool. Send it to Bleeding Cool. Send it to Newsarama. Send it to.
Yeah, get your press releases out.
Here, see, Billy Tucci, why do you have to open that box?
Oh, damn. Well,
here we go. There's a quick little story. I sent it out to one of those. Bleeding Fool responded. They're going to do a little interview that was cool, but I sent that out to one of the more mainstream ones. I'm not going to say which one, okay? But I got back a whole Comicsgate thing. Oh, I think I can't do it because Comicsgate, because I'm like, listen, man, I use that, right, because I align with the philosophy, and a lot of great people back my book. I'm just trying to build a platform. I'm not like hating you. And then we got into a nice back and forth email call. He's like, wow, isn't it cool we can have this conversation? I'm like, yeah, it's great. I'm like, so what's the catch? Are you gonna do a story on GROM or not? And they're like, listen, I'm talking to someone. I don't know if they could really blast it out mainstream. We can get it out there. But I want to do I want to do an article, and it's about me denouncing, my CG affiliation. And I'm like, dude, first of all, that's negative for my campaign. I just want to focus on my campaign. And if I do, well, why would I even just say I'm denouncing it? I agree with it, but why would I even do that? I said, the people that you don't like in the movement, they don't accept me, or they don't see me yet coming up, because I'm still just going just how you guys are finding me out. Like they don't see me as like, oh, this is a big Comicsgate heavy hitter or whatever. Like, why does it have to be about that? And he's like, well, we could just quote you this. I'm like, listen, man. I'm like, I just thought you wanted to do a thing about my cool capybaras. I'm like, I appreciate you. You're a good person, but I can't do this. Boom. And then I ended the conversation. So
sounds like a bribe.
Yes.
Sounds like a bribe.
Man, that's not how I operate. I just can't do that. So that kind of bothered me, because again, I'm trying to hit the mainstream outlets, but everything's a game, or it's just in that. Just one of them hit me back in that way, Billy. So that's why I'm just like, I gotta be.
That's like a trap man or something. That's not cool, because would they do that for someone who had a different set of views on something? No, they wouldn't. So it's really it's not cool at all. And you should say, if this guy wanted to do an article on something that he doesn't agree with, then tell him to do an article on it. Tell him to do his research and do a damn article.
Use me as a martyr or something, like I'm purging my Comicsgate sins and I'm gonna accept. What the heck is that, man? Comicsgate is a cool movement. I think it's like I see it like kind of like the Image movement in the '90s. I kind of see it. It's something cool, man. I would love to be a part of it and just show, hey, I got storytelling chops. I can put a cool book together. That's all I want to do. It's like punch in the face to mainstream, because we're just fed up with that kind of storytelling in that way. And that's all I want to do, and that's why I aligned with it. Now, do I not get along with no one else? Like, I know Gail Simone is a writer. I know she has a target on Comicsgate people who don't get along. But can you believe she retweeted Galactic Rodents of Mayhem? She retweeted Lair, and she has something nice to say about it. What I'm trying to say is I deal with respect in everybody. Now, I might not agree with her opinion and with the fridging and the women. Okay, I get it. You might not agree with something, and we can agree to disagree. Mm-hmm. But I will tell you one thing. I can write a book, and if you want me to write a book about a homosexual superhero, I will write, pardon my French, I will write the shit out of that, and I will do it in a way that will – I'm telling you, I'll do it in a way – I'm not homosexual. I can't identify in that. You want to use that, I can't write it. I'm a writer. I'm anything, okay? And I can show you that I can do it in a way that, belittles what you're trying to do, but empowers the storytelling aspect to make people that might not see from a homosexual perspective something different. You get what I'm saying? Like I could play that game in the natural way it should be.
Just be you, dude. You don't have to be affiliated with anyone.
You have to be, you're doing things, you're doing them your way, man. You're doing the Deltrez way, man.
Yeah, dude.
The Deltrez way.
You build your own brand,
bro. Deltrez way, bro. Yeah. Do yours. The hell with everybody. Fuck everybody. You know what I mean? Like people like that want to trap you into things, or if they just, because they're just going to put a slant on it anyway, I think.
That's quote. Yeah, quote what?
Yeah, for what? And see, I don't care about it. I'm a grown man. I don't have time for this crap.
I don't.
Do you want to promote my book or no? If you don't, okay. Sorry. You're a cool guy. We had a great conversation, but I just want to sell comics, man. It's like what Michael Jordan said when they were asking him, why don't you talk about politics? And he didn't want to tell his political leanings. Because he was afraid of how he might be treated if he kind of said the wrong thing or supported the wrong guy for president that maybe the writer didn't want him to support. And he said, why would I talk about comics? He goes, Republicans buy sneakers too.
Yeah.
What's the big friggin' deal? And it's just it's really weird, man. I don't know. I don't have time for that shit myself. So,
dude, you just grow your own brand, bro. Grow your own thing. Don't worry about the only affiliation you have is to your creative team and your fans. That's right. And you grow that. You grow with that, dude.
Want to be loyal to the fans. I said they're giving me the platform. They're my creative backbone.
Exactly.
I can't stand without their support. So that's my loyalty right there.
And the support from other creators out there. That's what you go off of.
Sure.
That's it.
Yes,
stay out of the drama,
bro. Partnership. Yeah, for sure. I'm that guy. I'm just that guy. I'm gonna be cool. I'm just gonna be drama free.
Exactly.
You got it.
Now, do you have any conventions coming up?
I did the one convention in Tampa. I'm gonna try to hopefully, if we fund Galactic Rodents of Mayhem, is where I'm gonna try to do 2 or 3 next year that are really good on indie books. Because when I did the convention for Tampa, I met a guy who was connected to Kirkman, as odd as that is, who knew him, and he's just like, he went off he's like, man, I knew him when he was like nobody, and then once he became somebody, like he got these all Hollywood friends and just whatever. But what he told me, he's like, man, you're like the only dude peddling your own book. He's like, I miss that. He's like, we need that. He's like, I miss conventions like that. So he's like, you got to make sure you hit conventions that are more geared towards these type of indie book scenes. So he gave me a couple, and I got in my head, so I'm gonna try to hit those for next year and be steady on that until I can do multiple a year. I would love to get to that level.
Awesome, man.
Well, good luck, brother. You're kicking ass, man.
We'll be cool to see you at those conventions, man. Yeah, dude, it's so cool having you on the show. As we usually do a call out, crowdfunding call out after every show. This one's something a little different. This was a crowdfunded campaign, but the creator had reached out to us, so we're gonna give a shout out to Joe King versus the world's greatest average heroes. This is an all ages book, something for the kids out there. So if you get a chance, check this out. You can go on Kickstarter, where it originally was posted, and you can check it out. But now it's just up for sale on his website. So
it's definitely a cool book. I had a little exclusive behind the scenes look on that book, and it's very, very clever, very fun. So
very cool.
Funny as well. Yeah, cool stuff.
So if you guys can check that out. And all right, guys, thanks so much. Tomorrow night, man, we've got on the real life Peter Griffin. If any of you guys have seen it, he's been in a few of the cosplay documentaries. Real great guy. His name's Robert Franzese. Cool dude. We're gonna have him on the show, and we're just gonna kind of have a fun hangout night. It's not really crowdfunding. We're gonna talk about cosplaying and all that stuff, and
cool.
what is it like for them? Because I know a few indie creators that these cosplayers now dress up for their booths when they're hitting the convention scene. So we're gonna start entering that world.
It's our very first crowdfunding cosplay episode.
Crowdfunding cosplay.
I think you doing stuff like that, it shows you guys are standing out on your own with, it's cool crowdfunding, but you also got, incorporating a lot of the culture in there with the cosplay for sure.
Yeah,
there's a lot of talent, man, out there.
There is definitely a lot of talent out there, and honestly, we're just trying. We really want to just expand what we're doing, dude. We want to give everyone that's watching out there different aspects of everything, because this all, cosplaying. I think, well, what does that have to do with anything? Well, depending on how your book goes, you may have a character that is great for cosplay, and having them go around at conventions, because that's the next level. You want to evolve to that. Correct. How cool is that now they're taking photos with someone dressed as your character? there's that whole, it's another form of that personalization of your product and your brand that's out there. So you may be thinking, what does that have to do with me? Well, hey, if you want to keep growing and evolving, as most comic creators do, you need to get to know the cosplay world as well.
Word.
Definitely true.
All right, everyone, have a wonderful night.
Good night, guys.
Gilbert,
thank you so much for having me on.
We'd love
Nile,
to have you
I
on
hope
again.
You feel better, buddy.
I hope
Yes,
so.
my
Yeah,
friend.
like a closeout. I'd love it.
Right? And yeah, man, we'll see everyone tomorrow night. Thanks again, and Gilbert, we will talk to you soon.
All right, later, guys. Thank you
All
so
right,
much
everyone,
for
have a
having
great
me.
night.
Great show.
Hey guys, thanks again for tuning into Crowdfunding Comics. We look forward to hanging out with all of our crowdfunding fans every time we go live. And don't forget to click the link below and subscribe to our channel. And there's a little bell, you may want to hit that too. This way you get all the great notifications when we go live and when we upload some awesome content. You want to follow us? Sure, go right ahead at Twitter at CrowdFundComics with an X, Instagram Crowdfunding Comics, and Facebook at Crowdfunding Comics. Till next time, crowdfunding fans, we'll see you soon.